My name is Tyler Aird. I work at Jamf. I would be presenting with my coworker and friend Hector, but he's not able to make it today, so you guys got me. We're going to talk today about understanding compliance benchmarks. I'm going to do a little bit about like the history on like where Jamf compliance benchmarks derive from and how we got to where we are today. Here's the agenda. We're going to talk about what are compliance benchmarks, why do they matter, how we use them in Jamf Pro, and how they can give you definitive, tangible benefits for your organization. Then we're going to close everything out. So I have this blurb up here about like what compliance benchmarks are, like in writing, but in short, compliance benchmarks are going to help you secure Apple devices, reduce risk, and show alignment with industry and regulatory standards. Getting things started, we're going to start with the macOS Security Compliance Project, or MSCP for short. Okay? To me, this is one of the most important security projects in recent years regarding the Apple ecosystem. It builds upon all of the recommended rules, making it easier for Apple administrators to implement and deploy them into their environments. Got a couple of screenshots here to show you that the GitHub repo is here, and then you've also got the contributors for this. So we've got Alan Goldberg over at Jamf. We got Bob Yungler over in NIST. There's a bunch of people that are working through this to make this come a big reality. The other thing, too, is that this is constantly updated. So when there's a new version of macOS that comes out and there's a new rule that needs to be counted with that benchmark, it's updated. And there's actually a recent update that came out as soon as 2 weeks ago. It's a very, very well documented project. Starting on the left there, you can see the branches. It's broken down by the different OSs that you want to set your compliance benchmarks against. They have an extensive wiki section. And as you can see in that middle screenshot there, it's a bit of a manual workflow right now. It's all based on Python. So what we did at Jamf is we came up with this idea where we want to make it easier for admins to configure and deploy these, these rules, generate reports, or even just monitor, and deploy all of them with Jamf Pro. And that's where the Jamf Compliance Editor comes into play. So the Jamf Compliance Editor is built off of the MSCP ground. Basically, it helps simplify compliance for admins. You can go through, you can create new projects based on the OS. So you can see in the first screenshot there, you got macOS, iPadOS, iOS, and now we support VisionOS as well. Quick example for building your rules is you get to choose the compliance that you want to create, right, for your organization. Then that second screenshot on the right allows you to either upload everything that you see there regarding configuration profiles, scripts, policies, stuff like that, or you can simply cherry pick what you want to, rule and comply against. You can either save everything locally on your computer and upload to Jamf Pro your way, or you can use OAuth or the API to shoot everything to your cloud instance. So the Jamf Compliance Editor, it's free to use for easy baseline management, customizable benchmarks for all App OS, and then you can generate one-click audit and remediation tools. So it can help you streamline your benchmarks by cherry-picking what you want to report and force using predefined benchmarks like CIS Level 1, Level 2, DISA-STIG, NIST, stuff like that. I'm going to have a QR code at the end of this presentation that is going to allow you to basically get and access all of this stuff, the GitHub repo, everything. So keep an eye out for that. So why does all this matter? Security and compliance are essential for protecting data, maintaining trust, and minimizing risk. And it requires thoughtful planning, not quick fixes. Okay? The way that I like to think about it is you want to be proactive, not reactive. Organizations, they should assess where they are today and then define where they want to be, and then have your compliance fit in with that. So now we're at compliance benchmarks with Jamf Pro. right? So the key benefits are going to include automated compliance tracking that's going to allow you to maintain CIS level 1 and level 2 benchmarks with a single click. Flexible benchmarking that lets you align with CIS level 1 and level 2, even define your own standards. Visibility and insights, which allows you to identify compliance before they become risks, and our seamless policy enforcement that simplifies security at scale. Here are the requirements in order to use compliance benchmarks. You need a Jamf account SSO. You need to be on Jamf Pro 11.16 or later, and you have to be cloud hosted. Computers need to be on Mac OS 13 or newer. And then the screenshot that I put here is the specific requirements that you need in order to use compliance benchmarks within Jamf Pro. You don't need to have an admin account or any specific custom permissions or anything like that. This is what you need. So let's talk about Jamf account SSO real quick, because I know that there's been some pain going around it, and I want to talk about it real quick and kind of nip some of that in the bud because we have some updates coming. And I just want to make things clear and hopefully, shine some light on this. So with Jamf account SSO, we are not asking our customers to replace your existing identity provider with Jamf. That's not what we're asking. What we're asking is you can either federate your IDP with Jamf ID, or you can continue to use Jamf ID so that you can access your Jamf Pro tenant, Jamf Protect tenant, Jamf Security Cloud, and in turn access the microservices like compliance benchmarks and blueprints. And we heard you and we value your feedback, okay? So here's a sneak peek at what Jamf account SSO is going to look like in a couple of weeks. July 31st to be exact, and you guys are the first ones to see these screenshots. They're not public until right now. So you're gonna have enhanced user visibility. You're gonna have role-based authorization controls, IDP group to role mapping and assignments, better management over your Jamf ID, which is going to allow you to associate and disassociate regardless of your domain, okay? Lastly, you can have one domain, one IDP, and multiple tenants. And for our MSPs, you can share Jamf account connections and subdomains, Jamf account connections and domains across subtenants. Now we're gonna get back into compliance benchmarks. So in Jamf Pro, they're located on the left-hand side. Click on Jamf Pro compliance benchmarks. You're gonna be brought to your dashboard, what you see on the right-hand side. Now, I got a little bit of a demo. So starting here, you're gonna wanna name your compliance benchmark. You can put in any type of description, and then you can choose to either monitor and enforce, okay? You can go through here next, you gotta configure your scope. Who do you want this to get applied to? In this example, I just chose to do all computers, which has a variety of OS. There's Sonoma, Sequoia, and one other one. But you can go through here, and as you can see, you can cherry pick the individual rules that you want to, in this example, enforce and monitor. You can use the search up at the top so that if you don't know what something is called specifically when it comes to the rule, you can just start typing it out and we're gonna filter it for you. Then you go through in here, and in this example, I'm doing a custom login window message so that this is going to help establish that compliance. This is something that is gonna work for all of the rules that you see within this, the configuration itself. And then you'll go through, you'll click next when you're done, and then this is the review. The review is important. You always want to go through here and you want to look because all of this stuff is going to be created for you. And this is including configuration profiles, policies, categories even. And then you get to save and deploy. You can see that's in progress. I'm going to refresh the page here real quick. Take you back to compliance, and you can see that it's successfully deployed. It's quick. It uses DDM, so it's quick. So the other thing that I wanted to call out is the review and deploy specifically. I'm sure everyone here knows it, and I'm just going to say it again because I think it's very important, it's crucial. Always go through and review everything that you're deploying to your environment whether it's scripts, configuration profiles, policies, because you want to know what is getting applied to your computers and how it's going to affect your existing configurations. You don't want anything butting heads or not working. So always, always, always test before you deploy to production. It's very important. Moving on, we can break down how everything gets deployed. So we got configuration profiles, and you can see here that the CIS level 1 in both of the configuration profiles and the policies, those categories and all of the configuration profiles were automatically created from that compliance benchmark. None of this there's no manual intervention. It's all automated based on the scope that you chose and the rules that you chose to automate your benchmarks. Then you get a bird's eye view of your reporting. So you're able to go through and you can see, okay, cool. So I see that I've got some that are passing, I've got some that are failing, and some that are unknown. And when you click on the titles, it allows you to dig a little bit deeper and find out more, what's going on. Now, specifically, what I just talked about with compliance benchmarks is for Mac OS. Okay, but what about our mobile devices? Let's dig into that, huh? So securing mobile devices, we got some best practices around configuration profiles. They're a great starting point, right? There's tons of restrictions that are available for you to apply, so it's simple to toggle in most cases. Blueprints is best for anything DDM. We also support, or Blueprints also support MDM profiles with easy and streamlined deployment workflows. And the other component that you guys can leverage is Jamf Security Cloud. We'll talk a little bit more on that later. Blueprints are very similar to that of compliance benchmarks. They require the same prerequisites with Jamf Account SSO. You can also configure and enforce screen lock, your password complexities, and more. Now, a Jamf Security Cloud, as a part of Jamf for Mobile, this is going to include things such as endpoint threat prevention, content filters, and ZTNA, or Zero Trust Network Access. We got pre-built configurations that are customizable for your environment, where you can take a threat and you can change the severity and whether or not it's going to affect your users from accessing corporate material. That affects device risk that you see there in the middle, that is all specific to ZTNA. So if you check that box, that's going to say, hey, if I have an access policy and a user clicks on a phishing link, if this box is checked, they're not getting access until that's mitigated. The cool thing is we have auto responses, as you can see, auto remediation, and then you can also customize the alerts for both you and your end users on, do you want this notification to come through each occurrence, or do you want it to come through once a week? And then you can customize what that actually looks like for your end users. I want to call it the screenshot on the bottom here. So the reason why I wanted to call it out is because we monitor and remediate network traffic, because everything that Security Cloud does is at the DNS level. So we check certificates, hotspots, and much more. One of the big ones that's coming up a lot recently is if you guys have anyone that travels, to conferences and stuff like that, you go to airports, risky hotspots is big right now. So that's something that we will constantly monitor and check. If an end user, signs into a mobile hotspot at the airport and it's risky, we send the end user a notification right away, and we urge them to disconnect, essentially. So our benefits and next step, reporting and visibility are the pillars when securing your fleet of devices, right? Compliance benchmarks in Jamf Pro are excellent for this. It also gives the knowledge, tools, one-click implementations. Here's that QR code that I was talking to you guys about. This is going to take you to our Git repository of all the resources that we were talking about at today's presentation. And that's what I got for you guys. Any questions? All right, here we go. You don't have open liquid, do you? Okay.
Are these compliance features available for GovCloud?
Not yet, no. It's something that I believe is in the works, but that's all I know right now.
Okay.
Good question.
How can we detect if there's any profile conflicts with any existing profiles or settings?
So how can you detect if there's conflicting profiles, policies, stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I don't know that we have an automated way of that popping up to say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Because there's, you already have a lock screen configuration profile from macOS. The only way that I've seen so far to like mitigate that is check logs on the computer record.
If we have specific machines that need to be exempted, right, like podium or conference room equipment,
Yep.
should they be exempted at the smart group level of the compliance benchmarks or individually each of these, because it generates like 15 different profiles and policies? Like what would be a better way? Probably individually, right, so we could tailor it.
I would say individually because that allows you to have a little bit more control over it, yeah.
So the problem is though, some of them might get the config and then it'll be ripped off, right, because it'll go out pretty instantly.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I was
Thank you. So two things. One, well, actually, I'm going to ask a question to everyone here. Who's doing any sort of compliance now? Okay. So there's two things. One about the Jamf Compliancy Editor. What's really awesome about that is that when you run your spec on it, it will actually output all the documents you need to give your auditor. It puts out like an ADoc and a PDF and stuff like that, and you can edit that. We're an MSP, so like we brand it also, which is really nice. The other thing is, and this is like big when it comes to compliance, and it took us a long time to learn this, don't build your own benchmark. Like use the compliancy editor, but have a cybersecurity firm or someone else who's smarter than us in this build your benchmark, because you don't want to be the one responsible to be like, oh, no, I thought AirDrop was okay for this organization, and then find out that it's not, because it'll fall on you and you'll get fired. So like have a cybersecurity firm or something you're engaging with, like build out those benchmarks and then use the tools like this to follow those benchmarks. There's a big difference between building and running it on the devices.
Mm-hmm. That's a good recommendation.
You get it again, dude.
Relay. Thank you. I guess this might actually be more of a question for some of you who have already started going down this path. Presumably this is some big project. You spend a lot of time, have a lot of meetings, get this done, push it out. But presumably there's some kind of ongoing maintenance burden, simply as, security policies change, new OSs come out. And I think that is kind of what's making us a little gun shy about going down this path. So can any of you speak to what that burden is like?
Burden is the lightweight word of explaining what it is. Like, yeah, it's a lot, right? Like, what's nice about this is that depending on which tools you use, like, no offense, we're not a Jamf shop, but like the tool we use will actually just have compliance reporting right there. So if a device falls out, we use the compliancy editor to build, and then we put it into another MDM. It'll tell us like, hey, this device is not compliant, and we have to either fix it because NIST itself is not an auto remediation, it's monitoring only. So you write scripts and you write policies and profiles to fix it. So like if someone, I just use AirDrop as an example, right, because it's one of the ones that's in there. If you turn off AirDrop through a profile and the user somehow or other magically turns it back on, the profile should automatically turn it back off in 30 minutes. You're good. But if you're going from macOS 15 to 26, like you're starting anew every time. Because if you look, even you could look on the GitHub or use the compliance editor, it's so much easier to read it. Like the difference from macOS 13 to 14 to 15, the NIST moderate 83, am I saying this number right? 83,500, something like that?
Yeah.
Yep.
It went from 140 tests to 180 tests to 201 tests. So that's why, like going back to my original point, like don't be the one to figure it out. like have the cyber firm figure out what's ruled, and then what's nice about the compliance editor, it's like just clicking boxes, and then you say like, we're disabling this because the smarter people told us to, and we're just following suit, and like call it a day. Like, so it becomes a burden because you are looking, and if your fleet is like super diversified, and you have people that like have to be on Mac OS 13 because it's the last version that ran Photoshop CS6 or whatever bullshit, like you got to follow suit with all of them though. But I would say stick to one and go with it. NIST is, unless you're for like Fin or government, like for a lot of people, NIST is like the good baseline to go from. And I heard rumors that CIS is merging with NIST. I don't know the truth on that.
Cool, I think we're good then. Thanks, guys.